Welcome to the Podkey Summary of Troy H. Middleton. Today's story is about Troy Middleton, a military commander whose career was almost absurdly accomplished and whose public legacy is anything but simple. He rose through the Army on merit, helped shape generations of officers, held Bastogne at a crucial moment in World War II, and later steadied LSU during a crisis. He also defended segregation as LSU president, and that part of the record has reshaped how institutions remember him. Middleton's climb through the Army really was unusual for its time. He started out as an enlisted company clerk making $15 a month, and from there kept clearing one difficult gate after another. At Fort Leavenworth, 300 candidates were competing for commissions. Only 56 passed, and just 4 of those men, Middleton included, eventually became general officers. That tells you a lot about the kind of system he came up through and the kind of performer he was inside it. In World War I, during the Meuse-Argonne offensive, he took command and became the youngest colonel in the American Expeditionary Forces at 29. That set the pattern for the rest of his career. He kept moving up not because he was flashy, not because he had some oversized public persona, but because in critical moments, he delivered. One of the less dramatic but maybe most important parts of his story is military education. Middleton finished 8th at the Command and General Staff School, then went on to teach there. Among his students was Dwight Eisenhower, along with a lot of the officers who would later command in World War II. So his influence wasn't just on the battlefield. He helped shape the professional doctrine that later guided nearly every American Corps commander in Europe. It's one of those behind-the-scenes forms of impact that doesn't sound glamorous, but it multiplies through everybody else's decisions. His defining World War II call came at Bastogne during the Battle of the Bulge. Even as German forces surrounded the city, Middleton rejected the idea of just falling back again. He insisted Bastogne had to be held because it was a vital road hub. That sounds clean and obvious in hindsight. It was not obvious when you were under pressure, cut off, and staring at a much larger German force. His air corps was badly stretched, around 68,000 men spread across an 88-mile front. Some of those units were exhausted, some were inexperienced, and they were facing an estimated 200,000 veteran German troops. They still managed to slow the German timetable long enough for reinforcements to arrive and for the siege to be broken. That decision at Bastogne is the headline, but the broader record matters too. Middleton led its corps through Normandy, the capture of Brest, the Rhine crossing, and the advance into Czechoslovakia. By the end of the war, he had logged 480 combat days, more than any other American general officer. That is a staggering amount of time carrying that kind of responsibility. Middleton's temperament is part of what makes him interesting. He was not George Patton, and Patton noticed. During the pursuit after the Normandy breakout, Patton initially dismissed Middleton as apathetic or dumb because Middleton refused to charge ahead blindly. But Middleton's slower estimate of German strength turned out to be more accurate than the intelligence Patton had been given. That gets at his command style. He wasn't timid, but he was methodical. He gave armored divisions room to move, while using infantry to clear resistance. He wanted momentum, just not momentum for its own sake. And over time, even Patton came around. He awarded Middleton a second Distinguished Service Medal after Brest, and later described Bastogne as a stroke of genius. Eisenhower praised him in a way that almost feels like the perfect summary: moral courage, common sense, self-command, and the ability to do the sensible thing while others were getting crazy. After retiring from the Army in 1937, Middleton stepped into a very different kind of mess at LSU. The university had been rocked by a scandal after President James Monroe Smith embezzled nearly $1 million. Middleton helped rebuild the institution's basic financial controls, and for much of that first year he was working 16 to 18-hour days. It's not the kind of heroism that gets turned into war movies. But if you've ever seen an institution after a financial scandal, you know how ugly and tedious that work can be. He later became LSU president in 1951, and his priorities there are revealing. He pushed academic infrastructure, especially a new library, instead of expanding the football stadium, even with pressure from the Board of Supervisors. During his tenure, enrollment projections drove LSU into its biggest building program up to that point. His administrative reputation also carried into national policy work. He served on boards looking at officer-enlisted relations, military academy curricula, and the West Point cheating scandal. On that last one, his committee recommended dismissing 82 cadets, including most of the football team, which is one way to show you're not in the mood for sentimental exceptions. And then there's the hardest part of Middleton's record, which is his segregationism as LSU president. He accepted black students, but worked to keep them segregated in dorms and dining. He opposed integrated athletics and indicated LSU might shut down facilities like its swimming pool rather than allow interracial use. So, when people describe his legacy as divided, that isn't a vague modern argument. It comes from very specific choices. What complicates the picture further is that after retirement, his public role shifted. From 1965 to 1970, he chaired Louisiana's Biracial Commission on Human Relations, Rights, and Responsibilities. In that role, he helped diffuse tensions in places, including Faraday and Opelousas, and helped open the Louisiana State Police to qualified black applicants. That does not erase the segregationist record. It does mean the story isn't flat. Institutionally, you can still see that contradiction. LSU named its library for Middleton in 1978, then unanimously removed his name in 2020 because of that segregationist history. At the same time, other honors remain, including a ROTC building at Mississippi State. So, the argument over how to remember him is still very much alive. Middleton's life makes it hard to settle for a simple label. He was a profoundly capable soldier and institution builder, and also a leader whose choices on race rightly changed how later generations judged him. Some legacies stay neat, this one never was. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.